Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another podcast episode. My name is Alicia Gogan, the host of the Glow Up Secrets podcast, where I help you expand your mind and become more self-aware so that you can glow up into the best version of yourself. Hello, how are we doing? What day is it today? It's Friday that I'm filming this. This is guys, but mainly girls. I'm doing pretty good. This is early for me. I do not usually record an episode this early. And the reason why I am so early with recording, honestly, is because I felt this urge to talk about this topic. I obviously have been feeling like I want to talk about this topic, but last night when I was on YouTube, I saw a video from Lynette Adkins. I think that's how you say her last name. She's great. She's like in the more spiritual self-help type of videos. I would say she's like a similar creator to me, but different in so many other ways. And recently she just went and did a bunch of travels everywhere and stuff. I didn't really watch too much of that, but whatever. So you guys probably know who she is. And if you don't, then definitely go watch her. She's a great creator. And she posted a video last night. But when I read the title, I was like, girl, you know exactly what is good right now. And then I clicked it because I wanted to hear what she had to say. And the video was titled, "A Shift is Happening, Keep Up." And there is a absolute shift happening right now. She was saying in the video how there's just a shift happening in the collective consciousness right now. People are really waking up to things. People are no longer wanting to be comfortable anymore. People are really there's this energy of like, no, I want more. I'm done, whatever. And I have felt that shift in the past, I would say 2.5 to 3 weeks. I'm definitely going through a period of my life right now where things are energetically moving. I already even said this in last episode if you were listening. And I can only imagine that you guys are probably feeling the same way, where there's just things or like one thing or multiple things in your life right now where you're just sick and tired of it. You're either sick and tired of the external behavior or thing that is there, or you're sick and tired of your own contribution to this thing. And you're starting to realize like, you know what you need to do and you're not doing it, but you know, like the only way you're going to get actually what you want in your life is if you really step into this new version of you. And I think before you step into the new version of you, a lot of the times you have to get to this point where you're really fed up and you're really just like this energy of like, I'm done. I'm bored. I'm not engaged. I'm uninterested in these situations anymore. And I want more for myself. But you know, in order for you to really get that change, it has to be coming from you. You need to start taking that action. And even myself, there's many things in my life recently that I've just been like, I'm bored. I'm very bored of it. But I know for me, I take a lot of accountability. I see exactly where I fall short. I see exactly how I play a role into everything, which please get that ability to do so, to look in the mirror and see how you are literally contributing to everything that's happening in your life. I know it is hard, but I promise you that is a thing that will really get you moving forward and get you out of these ruts, get you out of this victim mentality. And I get it. There's things in life where you feel like a victim and you have to experience that. And like, it's not to say that you are a bad person because things happen in your life, but it's like, why are you so upset and mad and just not happy with certain things in your life? I can guarantee you, and we're not going to go to the extremes, okay? We're going to go for the people who are just, I know exactly who I'm talking about, so I don't even need to do the disclaimer. The things that are happening in your life, you know exactly how you have been falling short in those areas. You know exactly what you have been accepting and where you haven't been stepping in your worth. And you know, if you really want something more than this, it's going to be up to you to change that. So just think about your current situation right now. How am I playing a role in this situation right now? And it's always going to require you to take action, but and this happened to me in the past few weeks. The action that I was taking, it was almost like it was fueled by anger in a way. And this is what I mean. And she even said this. She's like, if you want to take a shift or you want to make it like a big impact or big shift in your life, like get angrier, get mad at the fact that shit's not working out right now. Get mad at yourself in a nice way. We don't mean like really be a tyrant. You guys know, but like become sick of your own shit. And that's what I came to, like many things. I was sick of a lot of things in my life. And so I really like allowed myself to get angry in a way. And I just like channeled this energy of like, it's actually a no for me. Like this treatment is a no for me. That treatment is a no for me. The way I'm treating myself is a no for me. What's going on in my reality and me hyper focusing on it, that's a no for me. The way that people want to come into my life and treat me a certain way based off of how I've always let people do that is a no for me. Like I'm done with that. And it's crazy too, because usually what happens is when we make change in our life, it's because it's from like a have to. You've gone so rock bottom that you have no other option but to like make it out. And that's how I've gone through a lot of things in my life. But this particular shift in my life right now, I could have stayed, like things were going pretty good. Like for the most part, like I was very comfortable, like all areas of my life, whatever. It wasn't me like wanting to shift my life and my certain areas of my life from this place of like survival mode. It was from this place of like empowerment and finally stepping into my worth and being like, no, I'm good. Like the anger was being let out in a healthy way. And the anger was in the form of saying no to things finally, instead of like people pleasing, instead of, like not standing in your worth because you're not trying to rock the boat or you're trying to be nice, you're trying to whatever it is that, that we tend to do when we stay comfortable. And I realized like, just because I'm comfortable doesn't mean that I have to put up with certain things. So why not just nip it in the bud now? Why not just say no now instead of like waiting until it gets worse, which is going to eventually, because like when you keep constantly playing small, the universe is going to literally throw red flags everywhere until you finally see them. And let's hope that when you see these red flags, there's not a million that you got to pick up and you got to work through. And it's not to say that you can't do that, but it's like, let's do it now versus later. And bring it back to thinking about your own situation. Whatever situation that you're in, think about where you're going to be in 1, 2, 3 years down the line if you stay doing this thing. So whether it's your daily habits, you pushing off things, you running away from your problems, you suppressing by drinking, by smoking, by partying, by spending time with people who aren't contributing to your growth, the relationships that you're in, the relationship that you're sitting in waiting for things to change, but nothing can change because you have trained this person that they don't need to do anything other than what they're doing now, yet you want something more. How is that going to work? So like literally all those things. Think about this and think about it deeply and get angry. Just like Lynette said, like seriously get angry and just over the situation. Like enough. And you know what? This is where I want to bring it kind of into this topic of the girls who love too much and the girls who care too much and the girls who are just like people pleasers. And if you're not a girl, you can really apply this to yourself. And even if you don't identify as somebody who loves too much or this too much, I think that this topic will still be very relevant to you. There is always going to be light and dark aspects of all of us and every type of behavior and like things that we do essentially. So when I think about people who love too much, girls who love too much, girls who care too much, and I will put myself in that category, and I've had to heal. That's a whole long ass journey, and I still have that wound in a way. I don't want to call it a wound, but whatever. Always leaning towards the loving too much and the waiting and the hoping and the like being nice and being optimistic and just like letting people like, just loving. It is not bad that you care a lot about people or you want to take care of people or you're just like, you're making sure that you don't rock the boat with people and you're very kind and you're nice and you're doing everything right and you're people pleasing. Listen, let's not completely demonize that. I think that's a very beautiful quality and trait, and people who actually care too much and the ones who love too much, I actually think that there is some immense value in being somebody who unconditionally loves. So I'm going to put y'all in the same category as unconditionally loving. You guys know how to unconditionally love. And partly unconditionally loving someone can definitely be your like trauma response in a way, right? Because it's like, oh, I just want to accept all you and love all you because I want you to know that I'm not going to go anywhere because like I actually don't want you to go anywhere. And like this is a whole like dynamic. Yes. But like I do think there's just an innate part of some people who just maybe they grew up this way or they just are unconditionally loving. And I really think that I have that part of me just naturally. And I know that because I have it from my mother, and it's just an instinctual, natural thing within me. And I see it within her, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So, and the reason why I'm saying that is because I think that a lot of the times when we get fed up with our own shit, when we realize that we've been maybe people pleasing or we've been loving a little bit too much or like unconditionally loving people and letting things slide and waiting around and being comfortable, bringing it back to what I started with, we can kind of like look at ourselves like, what are you doing? And maybe even trying to revert to the complete opposite, which is like, hey, you know what? I'm going to be like this hard ass now, and I'm going to say no to everyone, and I'm going to care about myself more than anyone, and like screw everyone, and everyone's an idiot, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't want you to strip that part of you away. Like, I think that it's amazing, and you should always keep that part of you in you if you have that. But what I want you to start recognizing is this. When you are somebody who cares too much, who loves too much, who's just that lover girl, that lover energy, like always giving, always whatever, there always comes a point in time where you need to like do a balancing act. So you'll be like unconditionally loving people and just like doing everything. But there needs to always be a point where you start to bring your energy back towards yourself. And then again, if let's say you're in relationships, I'll just use that as an example, and then you can give out that love again, but bring it back in. Let's bring it back in. Let's bring it back in. Let's bring it back in. And a lot of us don't do that. And that's when you kind of know it's really that like trauma response anyway. You probably learned how to be like that around a parent or whatever, but you're constantly giving yourself out. And that's when you lose yourself. You lose your identity. You lose your boundaries, your expectations, your everything. And the problem with that is other people are really conforming, even if it's not personal. Other people are conforming to how you are always giving. So naturally, they're just going to constantly be taking. And if we look into the context of relationships, like especially for men, okay, naturally, if you are that loving and that giving, whatever, it's not going to spark a man's like want and desire to pursue you or to even try, even if he wanted to, because you're just there and everything is great and it's just easy. And I'm not trying to make this toxic at all, because I know like some people online, they'll be like, oh, like if you act like a wife while you're a girlfriend, then he's going to use you and like, we don't even have to take it that extreme. But in general, just like, this doesn't mean that people are bad people, because especially, let's say, men are bad men just because, they're not really moving things forward in a relationship because you're kind of giving everything. It can be very subconscious, right? But it's like, if we are looking around and we can be honest with ourselves and say, and tap into that energy of like, what is this life? What is this? I'm saying I want X, Y, and Z, but I'm getting this, and I'm sitting here waiting for it to change. It's not about stripping that part of you that's that lover part, but it's realizing the more that you give, and you love like too much in a way, when you think about too much, girls who love too much, you already kind of know that that's like a negative, like it's not a really enjoyable thing. And the reason why it's not enjoyable is because you've lost yourself. It's no longer you just being a lover girl and you being unconditionally loving. It's now you doing this as like some sort of trauma response, really just to like get that person to like feel comfortable, and like you don't want to rock the boat and you'd rather not lose what you have, so you're just going to give and give and give. But on top of that, you actually feel like shit about yourself, and you're triggered every day, and your self-concept is shit, and you don't have like self-worth, and you don't have confidence within yourself, and you're actually second guessing yourself all the time, and you're packaging that all up with you being a lover girl. And you know that if you look in the mirror right now, you know that that's where you're at. And so it's so important that you bring yourself back to yourself for a moment in time, and you learn how to continue to do that throughout your relationships. And it's not about like asserting all these boundaries and everyone needs to like treat me this way. But naturally, when you bring your energy back towards yourself the way that it should be, ebbing and flowing in relationships or anything in life, you don't have to even force and manipulate people to kind of like give you what you deserve. You will start to see people conform to that, because guess what? Your energy is back towards yourself for once. You're not the one chasing. You're not the one like trying to make things happen and making things easy for people. You're allowing people to kind of work for you, work for whatever it is around you, like whatever it is. And I want to share a quick personal story about this, because I'm sure, I can only imagine a lot of you guys have had some sort of dynamic with a parent like this. Because I do think a lot of people who have these type of dynamics with parents usually, or at least for women, tend to like come out on this side, like the example that I'm talking about, which has always really been me in my life in many different levels. I've had to heal like the layers of that. But, and I'm not saying this is everyone, by the way. I'm just saying I think that some people might relate. But for me, I was around a father who was a tyrant. I was afraid of him. I never said what I felt. There was no space for me to say how I felt, express myself, just be myself in general. Like that's just wasn't what it was. What he said went, and that's it. And if like, it was to the point where, you know, there was no way that I was really going to mess up too bad in my life, because I knew that the ramifications of me messing up would be very, very bad. And I didn't want that. So I learned how to stay safe, and I learned how to stay safe by people pleasing and being quiet and being a good girl and not making mistakes. Like that's just what I did in my life. And let's bring it back to there's always light and dark in everything, right? I think that my father instilled a lot of like healthy discipline. I had masculine energy in my household. I think that it was a lot though, in the way in which that he expressed that masculine energy was very toxic, if you will. But from that type of dynamic, because he taught me basically that I'm down here and he's up here, that's how I kind of viewed everything in my life. Like everyone in my life or anything in my life was, I'm down here and you're up here. Even when it came to my friends, I'm down here and you're up here. When it came to grades, it's like, and this is like, you start manifesting shit in your life also from this self-concept that you view yourself as. When you start viewing yourself as not smart enough than the other kids, you're literally like, you're not going to be applying yourself. You're going to think that you don't understand things. You're going to give up on yourself quicker, which then reaffirms what you are holding about yourself. And then you create more situations out of that. This is how we do things in our lives. We manifest things all of the time like that. So literally, like when I have like not a lot of self-worth and like I'm shy and I'm not getting help at home for school, and you know, it's not to ignore that I might have not have understood, let's say math, but because I wasn't getting positive reinforcement and actual real help, I would go into class and then I would not understand something, and then I would be pulled out of class, and this whole entire situation made me feel like I was dumb and that I was less than. And because that's kind of how I already felt, I stayed in that energy, and then I stopped trying in school and I was too afraid, and then I kept perpetuating that same thing all the way up until high school, until I switched my self-concept. But anyways, that was like a long-winded thing. In general, I always looked at myself like lower and everyone is just better than me. And so when you start to have a certain self-concept about yourself, you start to not, put up your hand in school or like put yourself out there, because you look at yourself like you're lower. And even for me in school, I was also a mixed kid in a school filled with white people. Like literally there was like 3 other like mixed kids. And now I don't ever say that there was any racism or anything like going on, but in general, I look at myself as different than other people because I have different hair texture, I have a skin texture, whatever. I thought it was very beautiful. Like my mom very much so instilled a lot of that in me, but it didn't really matter because I still looked different, and whatever. Everyone goes through that kind of stuff in different ways. It's not that it doesn't matter, by the way, but whatever. I always looked at myself like lower and everyone was higher. And I had a father figure who instilled that within me from the jump, and then in general never really reinstilled anything else in me. So I always felt like everyone was right, everyone knew better than me, and like whatever anyone else says goes. Even logically, if I knew as I grew up that person's like not fully right, or that guy is not that good of a catch, right? And the reason why I'm saying all that is because I think that we reenact the same type of power dynamic in our romantic relationships, maybe even our friendships, or just things in general in our lives by not asserting our boundaries and not standing up for what we actually believe in or what we actually feel. We stay way too long in relationships. We wait around for things too long. We get super comfortable because we're too scared to say what we feel, because and this is the thing, we carry our inner child within us, okay? They're with us and they're still freaking traumatized. So my inner child still thinks if she says no to anyone, she's going to get in trouble. So no way on earth I'm saying no. Well, guess what? My inner child still has that consciousness from when she was young. So even though I'm an adult and I know logically I should be standing up for my worth and saying no, I have my inner child that is always ready to keep me safe. And if she feels that there's any threat to saying no, she's not going to do it. And this is the thing when I mean a threat. It's not that I'm actually going to get hurt if I say no, but you know what's going to happen if I do say no and this person, let's say, doesn't want me anymore, or they reject me, or they don't like what I have to say. That's going to make me feel like I'm in trouble. That's going to make me feel like I'm abandoned. That's going to make me feel like I'm rejected. That's going to make me feel like something that I don't know how to handle. I never learned how to handle that emotion. Because why? Because my dad told me no emotion at all. You don't handle them. This is the thing. You can't get away from emotion, okay? You're going to get rejected in your life. People are going to say no to you. You're going to disappoint people. But the problem with us, and I say this lightly, we're not really a problem, but the problem that we face is that we've never actually learned how to process the emotions of feeling like, oh, I disappointed dad that day, or like I did something wrong or whatever. We never had a parent say, just because you did this wrong doesn't mean that like life is going to be a mess and like you are bad, or I'm going to hurt you, or like I'm never going to talk to you again, whatever. Our inner child never knew how to experience or process any sort of that emotion. So what she's going to do is she's going to do her absolute best to make sure that we don't feel that emotion at all. So how do we do that? We say yes to everyone. We stay in relationships that we're comfortable in. Why? Because if we try and walk away, we stand in our worth, there is a risk. There is a big risk right now, and I don't know if I'll be able to handle that emotion. I don't believe that I can even stand in my worth right now and say no to someone and they still actually be there for me, because usually what would happen in childhood is if I were to ever consider saying no to my dad, he wouldn't say, oh, really, Alicia, that's how you feel. Okay, well, let's talk about it then. You have this opinion about something and you didn't think that like I should, tell you to do this or whatever. Let's have a dialogue right now. It was absolutely not. So this is how we view things with relationships as well. We're too afraid to say no, or not even, okay, let's just take out the no thing. Even communicate, because we're so afraid if we communicate, then that person's not going to like us anymore. That person's not going to stay with us anymore. Why are we so afraid? Why are we so afraid to stand up and stand in our worth? Because we're afraid to lose what we have. Well, guess what you have? You don't even have anything good. And what I mean good is like you're getting it half-assed and you know that. The relationship that you're in right now, you're too afraid to let go. Let go of what? Let go of what? You don't even have what it is that you desperately, actually, deeply want in your life, okay? That is, you got to be honest with yourself. In general, the things that you're holding on to so tightly, think about it. Are you just holding on to this thing because of survival at this point? Most likely, yes. And if that is the case, it's time to understand that you are no longer in the same situations that you once were when you were a child. And this is the energy that I channeled not a few weeks ago, or like the past few weeks, is this energy of no. And when I'm saying, like literally, when I'm feeling this in my body and I'm letting this anger come up, I'm literally picturing my father in many ways, okay? And I'm not saying for you to do this and like if you like have deep work to do, then maybe go to therapy, like whatever. But I am literally channeling this energy that I never really ever learned how to channel in my life. And for the first time in my life, I'm saying, no, thank you. You actually don't have all the answers. You actually don't dictate my life. You actually aren't the person that is always on the pedestal. Actually, you mess up as well. Actually, I'm not the only one that's always wrong. No, thank you. And you need to start channeling that energy. And that is the reason why I changed so many things recently in my life. And it wasn't from this place of like I was being forced. It was from this place of like there is anger within me and this inner child is so fucking ready to be like not held down and in these shackles. Because the thing is, it's like as adults, we realize the only person that's going to get us out of those shackles is us. The only person that's going to get Alicia out of this freaking jail cell is Alicia. This is what it is to reparent yourself now that you're older. Okay, so what is it going to take for me to finally let myself out of these shackles? Is to finally say no to everything that does not align to me in my life, whether it's my own behaviors or whether it's letting other people into my life, giving me half-assed things or half-assed opportunities or half-assed whatever it is. So I came up with a little bit of a list of a few things to help you really solidify this new version of you of like no energy, of like I'm not doing this anger energy. And I mean that like in a light way. You know, I'm not going to like tell you to just be angry and like bitter. Don't be bitter. That's a thing. That's a good word. Bitter. We are not trying to turn our hearts cold. I don't want that. I don't want that for you. I think there's many movements right now in the world, especially when it pertains to womanhood and relationships. It is a lot of women have been so hurt that they just say, you know what, let's just start this movement of making our hearts completely ice cold. And I'll tell you right now, that's not what's going to get you to where you want to be. You do not need to just strip your desires of wanting love. You want love. You're a human being. You're allowed to have that. You are always allowed to have that. But it's about how do we rebalance this energy? How do we bring ourselves back to this like, I am worthy and I am not always the one wrong and I actually get and deserve things in my life energy, because you're not residing in that. But that's not to go to the complete opposite and say, screw everyone else, because you didn't come here. I always say this. You didn't come here and just like to be put on an island and live by yourself. You're going to get bored real quick. You need love. You need connection. You need people, but it's obviously the right people. So I think it's so important. And I guess we can bring it back to relationships. It is really important for you to look at yourself like you are deserving of having the relationship of your dreams, the exact treatment that you want, the money, the job, the whatever. So it is really important for you to start building up your self-confidence and your self-concept and the way that you view yourself again. Because when you get to a point where you look at yourself like, oh, I'm loving too much, or I'm people pleasing, like I'm doing, you know, whatever, this energy, you have definitely lost your self-concept. You probably haven't even thought about, you know, what do you deserve or what do you want? You've completely just ignored yourself. So sitting down, you know, you can do this every morning. I think always journaling is great and just reinforcing this confidence within yourself. It's not about recreating a story about how everyone should treat you or should show up or how they're going to, trying to ease that, whatever. It's like, look at yourself. What do you deserve and what do you want? And say that and write that out shamelessly. I deserve to have somebody show up in my life consistently. Why? Because I am a good person. I have always been a good person. I treat people with kindness. I treat people with care. And if you want to bring this back down to who you were when you were a child, I look at myself as a child. It's like, I never, ever deserved that treatment from my father. Never, never, never. I was always such a good girl. And even if I wasn't, and you're a kid and you mess up and you whatever, even if you're adult, if you're an adult and you messed up and this, that, you are a good person. And I know that. And you do not deserve that. But you have to start telling yourself that. So what is it that you deserve from people, places, and things in your life? And why do you deserve that? And reinforce that to yourself, because you haven't been. You have been taking breadcrumbs because you haven't been reminding yourself that you actually deserve more than just the breadcrumb. And listen, what is so key to creating a new self-concept and looking at yourself like you are deserving of every specific thing that you know that you're deserving of, is you want to do this. And this is actually the most important, actually, when you're actually getting treated like you're worthy, or you're not getting breadcrumbs. Because this is the thing, this is what I'll say, especially when it comes to relationships. The man always comes in your life most likely when you are feeling pretty good about yourself. You're pretty confident, probably. You're not attached to anything. You have decent self-worth. You're feeling yourself, whatever. Someone comes in. Why? Because they're attracted to that energy and you're standing in your worth. So you're going to bring that person in. The level in which of that value of that person, which is a bad word, and I know I shouldn't be using it, but I'm going to use it in this context for a second, will be dependent on whatever level of self-worth that you have. But regardless, there's still like this baseline. And so this person comes in, and because you are this girl who's like, oh my God, everyone's so much better than me, naturally, when you start to form this attachment, what's going to happen is this person's going to come up here and you're going to bring yourself all the way down here. So when you get in a relationship, even if you're out of one, but when you get in a relationship, it is so important that you keep bringing that energy back to yourself. But what you do, because you're in a relationship and because you want to stay safe and you have this like little trauma part of you that's like, oh my God, like me, is you're constantly putting all your attention and your energy into this person that you have no time to reinforce a self-confidence or a self-concept within you that you are still amazing and deserving of love and whatever. And there's many reasons why you do that. And the main reason why you do that is because somebody is reaffirming to you that you're amazing, right? So it's like, oh, I don't have to do it for me. I don't have to do it for myself. Right? This guy is texting me all the time, and this guy's making me happy, and this guy is giving me every dopamine kick that I possibly can get, so I don't have to do it for myself. But the problem with that is now you become dependent on that drug. And what will happen, because people are wonky, and on top of that, people are responding to how you are energetically, you're going to start to lose yourself because you didn't actually have real self-confidence. And then this person is going to start acting whack because that's literally the only, like, that's how they're conforming to you because of your energy state. You're going to look at their behaviors as confirming to you what you deep down actually believe about yourself, is which you are not worthy, you are not deserving, you are not loved, you are not, etc. And that is where you're at right now. There's a part of you that feels like crap, or you're not happy with things in your life because you're feeling like crap about yourself. So you need to understand that it's so important, and we're not ever perfect, but you have to look at yourself like you are deserving of love and attention and everything, even when somebody is not giving it to you, by not taking it personally, for one, when they do not show up that way, and not letting that rock you. But also in general, the way that you not even let that rock you is every day you are reaffirming to yourself that you are deserving, and this is what you get, and this is why you get it. And we don't do that. That's the thing. People do it for like a week and they get what they want, which is like a fake manifestation in a way, because it never sticks. It never sticks because you didn't work on your self-concept. Side note, I guess, but the dating community online, especially TikTok, a lot of them will talk about, in general, I think a lot of people believe that, as soon as you like walk away from a guy, they usually come back, right? And they come back, why? Because you have worked on yourself and you're like amazing, and that attraction is whatever. And then a lot of people will say, and we all like know that that's true. And it's true, why? Because yes, you've worked on yourself, blah, blah, blah. But then a lot of people will be like, yeah, but don't let them back into your life because they're going to pull away again. And listen, there is some truth in that, in terms of you're not going to let any guy come back into your life, right? But people don't understand this. The reason why, because there's two ways that a guy could come back into your life and be a completely different guy, or a guy could come back into your life the same way he was before, dependent on your self-concept. And this is what people do. This is the community. They will, let's say a guy's not treating them right, so they naturally have to like work on themselves. They actually did not walk away. The guy walked away in a way, even if he didn't fully. So now, okay, I'm sad. Well, let me just work on myself. You don't really actually work on yourself. What you're really doing is just kind of ignoring the situation that happened. You're not really going deeper as to why that you maybe attracted that person, whatever. Doesn't matter. People don't really actually work on, when I mean work on yourself, I mean work on your self-concept and the way that you view yourself in regards to, let's say, romantic relationships. And so you'll go about your day, whatever. Maybe you're on to the next guy, whatever, or maybe you're doing your own thing. But either way, you didn't actually work on that wound from childhood is what I mean, okay? So you still have that within you. And then, but you've worked yourself up a little bit, screw that guy, don't need him, whatever. And a lot of people in comment sections will say, don't let the guy come back because he's going to treat you the same way. But this is my belief, and this is happened to me. Depending on if I've actually worked on my self-concept or not, that guy will either play with me for a little bit and then leave, or that guy will actually stay because I've actually worked on my self-concept. And this is what I also mean. If you truly worked on you being a people pleaser and like you loving too much and you've actually stood in your worth and you said, actually, no, I want only this treatment. This is how people treat me and whatever. That guy will come into your life and he will have to continue to stay on that level because you're holding him to that level. Even as he gives you everything you want, you're still holding him onto that level instead of doing that dynamic shift, which naturally happens. You're keeping it pretty even in a way. Or if you didn't actually work in your self-concept and you didn't say like, oh no, I deserve this treatment, I want this, whatever, and you're just kind of like letting him ride the wave, what is going to happen is he's going to come back into your life and act the exact same way because you're the exact same person and you didn't actually change what it is that you're wanting. You're just, again, looking at him like, oh, he gets to decide or he gets to bring me whatever it is that he feels like he wants to bring me, da, 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 da. And this is also another thing. It's either like he's going to conform to you when your self-concept changes, or if he does come back, because guys will come back, if your self-concept has changed so much, you won't even let that guy come into your existence. Like you won't even let him come back into your life. So I see the example of like, don't let them back in because they're going to act the same, but they're really only going to act the same if you're the same. And girls don't want to admit that. Girls don't want to admit that because they think they have worked on themselves by, let's say, finally walking away from a guy who gave them the bare minimum, and maybe they've been going to the gym and taking care of themselves, and maybe they're good people. Like, I'm not saying that these girls are not good people. I went through the same thing. I wasn't like I was a bad freaking person, but until I got into that relationship, whether I let that guy back in or not, or I got into a new relationship, I recreated the same fucking thing because I didn't realize that I was actually looking at myself as lower. And you can tell if you're really in this energy of like an unhealthy attachment with a guy if your day is dependent on whether he messages you or not, or how you view yourself is dependent on if he's commented on your photo or not. And I know that it sounds a little bit silly, but I'm telling you, check in with yourself. And you know what? You don't have to check in with yourself because you already know. But you know what? Even as I gotten older and I stopped relying on men for validation to remind myself that I'm okay and that I'm good and that I'm pretty and I'm hot and I'm this and I'm that, there was still that reminisce so many times when I started to form a connection with a guy. But what I started to realize is the more that I healed and the more that I got closer to men, I would start to witness when I was relying a little bit too much on the validation or a little bit too much on if he called me that day or not. And like, I was checking in on like how I'm feeling and like, do I feel like I'm in the rejected state when he doesn't call me? And if that's the case, then it's not about getting him to call me more. That's what we do. We try and we chase for more of the validation. No. Why am I not feeling okay within myself when this person is not calling me? And this is understandable. At the end of the day, we're not perfect, right? We have that validation. We get that love. We should have certain expectations. But oh my God, if you're just thrown off completely all day because someone didn't text you back or he didn't say this or that, it's a you problem. I know it hurts. Listen, it hurts, but it's true. And I promise that will make you feel so much better in relationships when you start to work on yourself and validate yourself in those moments. And again, this is not to accept the bare minimum, of course, but realistically, most likely you're not going to get so much of that bare minimum when you are validating yourself regardless, because first of all, you're not hyper focusing on someone's behavior anyways. And in general, when you have this actual confidence within yourself, like genuine confidence and like deservingness and like, this is how people show up for me, most likely most people will either conform to that because they know that's the only way that they can treat you, or they will kind of like fall off. So if you find that you're in this relationship, let's say, where it's like, they're not treating me right. They keep not treating me right. They keep not treating me right, babe. It's you. And I don't mean this in a negative way, but it's like, you're the one that's letting this continue to go. And you being okay and allowing and being good, being a good girl and being sweet and okay, and I won't rock the boat, is the reason that this man is not standing up. Why would he stand up? There's nothing, you're literally not holding any expectation for this man to stand up. Okay? So bringing it back to self-concept. Every single morning you want to be pouring into yourself. how amazing you are, why you deserve the things that you deserve in your life. I promise you, it will change a lot for you. And be very aware of when you start to take that spotlight off of you, completely put it on another person when you're in a relationship or whatever it is, and make sure you're pulling yourself back. And again, it's not about pulling yourself all the way back and making sure that your heart is cold, okay? We don't want that. We can be lover girls, but you want to do that ebb and flow, and you want to check in with yourself. And listen, men don't really have this issue. Like, they're, as much as men have their issues, but and that's one thing that I'm a little bit jealous about is they don't really lose themselves that much in relationships. We do. So it's good to bring that attention back to yourself. And now this is another thing that really keeps girls stuck when it comes to focusing on themselves or like looking at themselves as worthy and all these things is honestly because we don't have full lives. Okay. And I think back to when I was in my early 20s and I had such a hard time doing this and not getting validation from men and trying to pour into myself because I wasn't happy with my life. And now looking back, I was working and I was grinding and I was being very strict on myself. So realistically, I actually could have been happy for a lot more things than I even was. And I worked through that. But in general, like, you don't like your life, you don't romanticize things in your life, you don't have a full life. So yes, it's no wonder you're going to easily go back to that low self-worth place because it's like at least you feel something in that. Well, guess what? That's not going to take you 1, 2, 3 down the line. Think about it. The question that I asked you at the beginning of this podcast episode, where are you going to be if you keep doing what you're doing right now? It's not going to be good. It's only going to get worse. So it is time for you to focus on having a full life, your own life, romanticize your life. This is incredibly important when it comes to relationships as well. Your relationships will be so good if you have a full life and you start working on your own beautiful, amazing, whatever it is. And this doesn't mean you need to have a perfect life and all the friends and all this, but you just need to start being happy with your life and doing things that make you fulfilled and learning how to detach from people, men specifically, and bring your focus and your attention to something beautiful outside of this person that you're like putting on this pedestal, the way that I did for my dad. Like, I was so freaking scared of like losing him, or not really losing him, but thinking I was going to get in trouble that I couldn't even focus and pay attention to things at school because I'm so afraid of what's going to happen at home. Like, again, you recreate so many things from childhood, but whatever, it is what it is. And listen, this is not, I don't want you to focus on your life so that this can happen, but I will just say the more, and this is why I say it's good for your relationships, because the more that you're immersed in your life and your hobbies and your work and your everything, and you don't need this validation and this everything from a man, let's say, and you can apply this to a lot of things, but I'm just using relationships. That person will have to continue to work for you, have to continue to show up a certain way because you're essentially indirectly demanding that of this person. And this person is also going to just be intrigued with the fact that like you have this life outside of them. And how beautiful is that? And also, when this person is going through something and they're not showing up correctly, because guess what? People are human beings and people don't do things right. Because you have a full life and because you're immersed in this beautiful relationships and friendship, all that kind of stuff, when somebody's acting a fool over here, you're not going to let that completely rock your whole entire life. You're not going to let that trigger you to the point where now we're starting fights and arguments that don't need to be there. You're going to detach from that. You're going to just like go here for a moment and just like recoup and let this person recoup. And then you guys can come together. If you need to communicate, you need to communicate. But whatever it is, you learn how to detach from things and you don't take things so seriously. And that really brings me to my last point is stop taking things so freaking seriously. Stop taking what people are doing and how they're acting personal, okay? And this, again, some communities, especially on TikTok, they want to, some girls would be like, if this guy's acting like this, is because he doesn't like you and he doesn't whatever. You know what? You can think about that if that's what makes you feel good. But you know what makes me feel better is understanding that I am the catch. Genuinely, I am the catch, and I genuinely know that. But there are going to just be people in my life, friends, romantic, just things in life that cannot come up to that standard. But I'm not going to take that personally to the point where now I'm going to look at myself like I'm less than. Okay? Because it doesn't feel good to me and it doesn't help me in any single way. And really, I honestly do believe, even outside of like me viewing myself as a certain way, I really think genuinely when people don't show up in your life, when people act shitty, they're really doing it because they're hurting. And I think that the more you understand developmental trauma, you understand how we develop as humans, you understand psychology in general, I think you'll really start to, and this is why it's so important to educate yourself. You stop taking things so personally because you understand that people are genuinely hurting themselves. Hurt people. Okay? Even if you think that people are doing things so vindictively, like they're doing it so directly, they've done this and they've hurt me and their intention was to hurt me, they're hurting themselves, babe. You cannot let anyone hurt you unless you decide that, yes, I'm going to let them hurt me. And I get it. Listen, I'm not going to go to two extremes because there's always extremes in our lives. I'm not talking to those people. I mean, obviously, this advice, you take it or leave it. I understand that there's things in our lives that are like way worse than what I'm talking about. But I mean, in general, stop taking things so personally. If somebody's not showing up, okay, well, you know what? I don't believe that this is something that I deserve. So I'm going to bring my attention and my time and my focus to things that are beautiful in my life. And I'm not going to hyper focus and I'm not going to tell you how to show up in my life. I'm not going to argue with you and tell you how much you're hurting me and how much is that. By the way, they know. Everyone knows. Everyone knows exactly how they're doing and how they're reacting. Okay. So if you want someone to show up for you a certain way in your life and you feel like they have not, you don't need to tell them. In fact, you tell them with their actions. And if you find somebody is constantly not showing up a certain way in your life, that's because you have not shown them through your actions at all. So you might as well start doing that and see how things change without you actually telling people how to treat you. You don't need to tell people how to treat me. You don't need to tell people how to respect you or love you, okay? You become that change. You love yourself. You respect yourself. You commit to yourself. And I mean genuinely. I don't mean gaslight yourself to think that you're actually showing up for yourself and that you love yourself. I can guarantee you there's so many instances where you're not doing that in your life and you're not showing up. You start to show up like that for yourself, for your inner child, for your whatever you want to think about. Watch how people conform. Watch how things change in your life. Watch how you start manifesting things without you having to try to chase, to work hard. We have it backwards when it comes to relationships, when it comes to getting things we want in our lives, especially when it comes to money. And listen, I have learned this over and over again, and I've gotten really good at this. I'm not perfect. There's so many things when I see something happen in my relationship, a certain dynamic, or with money, or with myself, I'm like, oh, this is a reflection of what's going on within me. And if I want to be real and honest with myself, which I am, I'm very blunt and honest with myself. And I will look at myself and say, no wonder this is happening. No wonder it's playing out like this. Of course it's playing out like this. I can't get mad at anyone but myself at this point. Okay? So I'm going to take the responsibility on me. And I don't mean blame myself for somebody showing up shitty or like put all the blame on myself. But what I'm going to do is focus on what I can change. And what I can change is coming within, reaffirming a new self-concept, picking up my self-worth if I've lost it, romanticizing my life, showing up for myself, committing to myself again, getting back on my shit, and let everything fall in place. And I hope you do too. So that's going to be it. That is going to be it. You know what you have to do. Like Lynette was saying, there is a very big shift happening, and I think that we are getting tired. We're getting tired of being the nice girls. We're getting tired of being the ones who are always sitting down. Not everyone always knows the answer. You decide. Okay? And I know it can feel like you don't have any power to say no to things, but you do. And that was hard for me too. I thought, when I was really trying to channel this anger and really say no, I was scared to say no. It's like, me? I have to say no to things in my life? But what if no, but people know, everyone else knows. No, they don't. You know, you have just lived all of your life feeling like you don't have that power and that you don't have that autonomy to be able to say no and that everyone else is right and you're wrong. That stops today. But that stops today by you stepping up into that higher self, that version of you that is actually within you. And you stand up for you and your inner child, whatever, and you finally say no and watch what happens in your life. That's everything. That's all I'm going to say. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.